Welcome, everyone, to Journeys with Jessica. This is a podcast where we get to explore the real stories, the challenges, and the victories behind becoming a certified financial planner. And my guest today is Jimmy Robbins. Jimmy is an advisor at AGW Capital Advisors. And what's unique about Jimmy is how he has turned his own personal journey, which has been filled with obstacles as well as lessons along the way, into a powerful example for aspiring CFP professionals everywhere. And be sure to stay tuned to hear about Jimmy's $5 misread penalty that he imposed upon himself, that you're not going to want to miss. So I can't wait to dive in and hear your story, Jimmy, and the insights that you have to share. So let's dive in. Welcome.
Jessica, thank you so much. It's so great to see you, especially not stressed, not pulling your hair out early in the morning, not having a child. Come on in, not getting calls. Yeah, you look like a different person. So,
I'm telling you, there is a light at the end of the tunnels, ladies and gentlemen. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
yeah,
Um,
Jessica and I had many early mornings together about a year ago now,
yes.
and going through retirement planning. And she did a great job. She was a great student, and we had a. It was fun for me. I was on the other side of it. It was not fun for Jessica at the time. Poor
No.
thing.
And so I would share it is normal to, once you get to the other side, I feel like so many of us, Jimmy and myself included, just want to help other people get to the other side because it is a journey. It is not easy. There will be days where you're like, I got this. And then days, at least for myself, where there might have been some tears, some swearing. When I was working with Jimmy, I might have hung up a few times. Like it's all no judgment whatsoever. Totally normal process. So tell me a little bit about yourself, Jimmy. I know all about you, but I to share with everybody else your journey and tell
Yeah.
us a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I work and am from the best city in the United States, in Tampa, Florida. Even for somebody like Jessica, she has to admit we at least have great weather 9 months out of the year.
Yes. Yes.
And we do beat up on Boston sports teams too from time to time, which is another great thing.
Sometimes.
Um, so I grew up here. I actually played college baseball. I was a left-handed pitcher many moons ago now. It's my 10-year college anniversary, so it is many moons ago now. And I actually started out in corporate investment banking at Regions Bank in Dallas. And I knew I wanted to come home. I knew I wanted to get out of banking. I learned a lot in the profession, and I had a great boss at Regions named Matt Hildreth, and worked with some great guys named Kyle Randolph, Drew Cullum, um, Claire Harrison was another one of my bosses. They were wonderful. Really indoctrinated me in the world of business. I had a really good experience there, and had an opportunity to kind of move to a different bank with that group. And I just decided I wanted to come home and get out of banking. And I had this opportunity with AGW Capital. So AGW is a RIA in Tampa, Florida. When I first started, we managed a little bit over $1 billion in assets. Today, we've grown to about a little over 4.5 billion. So um, I was one of the first analysts they hired. It was myself and a guy named Dan George, and I had to build my desk my first day of work. So it was the three partners, myself, Kathy, and Dan, and we've grew the firm pretty well. We now have 20 employees.
Six to
So
12 or 6 to 20. That's
yeah,
incredible.
yeah, it's kind, and so we've got a lot of young up and coming CFPs as well in the firm, and it's a great place to be. It's got a great culture. My bosses, Jay Annis and PJ Gardner, especially Jay, really have been great mentors. Really taught me the importance of attention to detail, and really just been with me the whole way. Our business is it's not black and white. There's a lot of gray, and it's a lot all about the details and client service. And so, really learned a lot of that from Jay and PJ, and really grateful for where I am now. I've been able to move up a little bit, and a lot of that's come from the CFP designation. So, that's a little bit about me. But it's nothing special. Probably a lot what you hear, but it's been quite the journey, and I'm grateful to be able to do it in my hometown. So. And part of that journey has been getting to work with great people like Jessica. So it's been
Well,
good.
thank you for giving us a little background. Tell me, what did you, so you passed the exam when?
I passed in October of 2023 or 2022. I can't remember. It's all kind of a blur.
It is a
Um,
blur. Yes.
so, so part of the way you become an advisor at our firm is that you have to pass. So you start out as an analyst, and then you become kind of a senior analyst, and then to move on from a senior analyst to kind of a associate in an advisor role, you have to pass either the CFA or the CFP. So you kind of get 4 years to do that. And
Okay.
so when I was taking the CFP exam, fortunately and unfortunately, if I did not pass the exam, I wouldn't have had my job at the end of the year. So
So the
I
pressure, like there was a pressure cooker feeling.
very much so. And so I took it the first time in July of 2023, and I passed 5 or 6 out of the 8 sections. I think it was five. And I used Zon and I used Dalton as my education stuff. And, Zon especially, they did fine teaching me the material. I felt like I had a good foundation. But when I got to the test, I was just so exhausted and so stressed. Um, it did not go well that day. And I just remember being just so drained and just so demoralized after the test. My dad is a very successful attorney in Tampa and has built a great law firm. He manages probably 350 people, and on a Wednesday, he knew I had how hard I'd been studying. I even skipped our family vacation in Normandy
Mm.
that summer, and so really gave up a lot, and didn't have much of a life over that year, kind of 9 months leading to the exam. And my poor dad, we have a unimpeded stretch of sidewalk called the Bay Shore in Tampa, and we walked up and down that twice, which is 4 miles each way. And we basically didn't talk. You could just tell how upset I was, and just took his afternoon off work to hang out with his pissed off son, which is very nice of him to do. And I took kind of 2 or 3 weeks off in July. And I knew I kind of had my back against the wall, and I was just like, well, you got to figure this out, pal. And I knew what I did the first time obviously didn't work, so I needed to make a change. And you know i'm I'm still an athlete by heart, even if I don't look like it anymore. So I know the need to make adjustments and things like that. So I knew I needed to make an adjustment, and I am by nature a people pleaser. So I know I needed somebody to hold me accountable, and I do well. And I looked on the CFP forum, and the name Paul Austin kept coming up over and over again. And so I sent an email to Paul, and I had a call with him. This would have been starting on July 19th of 2023,
Three.
and
Okay.
I started with him on July 31, and he was with me the whole day till I took the exam again on October 31. And I like to say Paul has the voice of God. It's like Morgan Freeman and
Yes.
um, kind of Denzel Washington mixed together.
Oh my God. Every time I talk to him now, that is exactly Jimmy. You literally hit the nail on the head. Okay, sorry. Be
Yeah.
quiet.
Oh no, it's great. And he really so Paul and I started meeting 4 days a week, and it really helped me accountable. And when I got to the exam in October, I just felt a sense of calmness like I'd never felt on a standardized test before. I really struggled with standardized tests through grade school, high school, college. For grad school, I got into Wake Forest, but I got into Wake Forest because I had really good grades. I graduated at the top of my class in college. Even though my GMAT score was only 500, I talked my way in, and I did great. But I always would struggle with standardized tests, and for the first time, I really had confidence going into the test because of Paul and his teachings, and that really just gave me this calmness on the exam that I had never experienced, and this kind of sense of peace. Like it was. I know Buddhists talk about like nirvana and stuff. It was kind of like achieving that, like just this sense of peace with, hey, I'm gonna do the best. I've got the tools. And it was just the second time I took the exam. Actually, this is a funny story. So the testing center in Tampa, it's more like the old Hoover FBI building in DC. There's no windows. You're sitting in this place for hours. And at the end, it took a minute to like adjust. So I said, whatever, like I'll get the printout when I fail it. And so the proctor goes, come here, like walks over at my desk, and I'm like, oh man, like what did he get? And he goes, you passed. And the gentleman was probably in his late 60s, early 70s. I gave him the biggest bear hug. I probably popped one of his ribs. Um, I felt so bad. He's like, no, son, this is why I do this for moments like this. I appreciate it. And the amount
And
of just
goosebumps all over.
yeah, the amount of relief I had and just in that moment was incredible. And all of that is to do with Paul. So as you mentioned, Jessica, my $5 penalty. So with Paul, it's all about trusting the process. And I'm sure if you've had many other podcasters and you yourself can attest to as a student, there's a lot of misreach when you first start.
What are you talking about, Jimmy? I don't know what you're
Yeah.
talking
And
about.
so when you hear from Paul, you get the answer wrong, and he'll go, that's a misread. And just in his dead tone, deadpan voice. And so I was having a lot, and I wasn't getting better. And so I had to figure out something that would motivate me to get better. And what better motivation is when you're retaking the test than giving yourself a $5 penalty, and that first month of studying, your misreads cost you $500. So you can imagine as Paul's getting wealthy, I'm getting frustrated. Well, I tell you what, that 1 month of $500 shapes you up pretty quickly, and soon those misreads became maybe one or two a month in total over 30 days by the end. So um, really, I think just the journey with Paul was all about believing in the process and truly listening to what he had to say. And I think three things is I was ready for somebody like this. I needed somebody like this, and I had the humility at that time, knowing that I was going to lose my job, to willing to try anything and to listen to anybody. Um, and I will say his colleague Madison at the time was very helpful too, and did a great job of encouraging me as well during that time. So, but yeah, Paul, I just can't thank him enough, and I'm sure some people have had some phone calls with me and helping with Paul. This is why I help him because um, he really helped me, and I'm happy to pay it forward. And I'm one of those people. If you're a wholesaler, you've called me, and I'm kind of like, okay, I'm good. And so I don't really do this, and so I would do anything for Paul to help Paul in his business though. He changed my life, and um, he's really, since I passed the exam, from a career standpoint, I've been able to acquire clients that I could have only dreamed of acquiring 2 or 3 years ago, and it's really given me a sense of confidence and pride in talking and prospecting with current clients and prospective clients because of my CFP designation and how Paul helped me get through the exam.
That there's a few things you said that I amen to all of them. But trusting the process, people say it all the time, and when you're on the other side of it, you're like, well, yeah, trust the process. I can't tell you how many times Paul would say, just trust the process. And I had some choice words to say, and now I will tell people, trust the process. The test taking anxiety that you brought up, I was the exact same way growing up. I always did well in school, but I had to work 10 times harder. I
Yep.
always did the extra credit. I would go for extra help because I knew I was not strong in test taking. And so I was
Yeah.
always able to figure it out regardless. But when it comes time for this, it's like it on game day, you have to be prepared. And you took the exam twice, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I had taken it 3 times. And by that third time, it was one of those um the calmness, like you said, and the confidence going in up until like a week before, like I was still like, is it going to be there? Is it not going to be there? Paul just kept saying, trust the process, trust the process. But I will tell you, the day I walked into that exam was, I have never felt that way walking into an exam. And I knew I had to do something different because just like in sports, if something's not working or you get destroyed by the other team, okay, let's watch the film, let's review. We can't do the same thing. We need to make some tweaks. And so Paul had told me from the beginning that I needed to take one weekend day off
Yep.
week, which, okay. Now I have three children. They were all under the age of 9, rambunctious boys, and a husband who travels a lot for work, so the whole kit and caboodle. And in my mind, I thought there's no way I can take a full day off with all that other stuff going on. And
Yep.
so I would tutor sometimes on Saturday or Sunday mornings with Paul. And he'd say, "So what's your day off?" And I'm like, "Well, today is." And he goes, "Well, we're tutoring." And I said, "Well, that doesn't count. That's like not my studying. That's just tutoring." And you got to let the people, fall on their face before they're, when this, what is it? When the student is ready, the teacher appears. And about, I don't know, 2 months, 3 months out, I finally was like, "I took a day off." He goes, "I thought you've been taking a day off." I was like, "Well, define day off." But it was so refreshing to be able to, let's say I take a Sunday off. Saturday at 3 o'clock, I was done and I knew I could not pick up anything until Monday morning. I would go into Monday morning so refreshed, so ready, and there was no longer a guilt. This sounds bad, but a guilt about hanging out with family and friends Saturday night into Sunday evening because I didn't feel like I was being pulled in two directions.
Yep.
So it's like the more time you have, you can kind of not be as productive. And I think
Yep.
working smart and not just hard was a huge piece of it as well. And when you said that Paul has the voice of God, like the Denzel Washington, Morgan Freeman, I remember calling him after the exam and saying, "During the exam, you were literally sitting on the top of my computer talking to me. Like I was having a conversation with you, trying to defend my answers, why this was right, why this was wrong." And I kept
Yep.
looking around during the exam, hoping to God I wasn't actually talking out loud and, you know, they were going to kick me out. But it was just a peaceful, calm feeling. And the other piece, I think for me, and with the test taking anxiety, I don't know if you felt the same way, but when I first started meeting with Paul, he said, "The last month, you're going to do 100 questions a day." I thought he was absolutely insane. There was no chance for somebody that struggled with questions. That felt like torture. That felt like there's no way I could ever do it. I It was not a good feeling. And I said to him, like, there aren't enough questions out there. Like, there aren't enough questions. And so I know he was fortunate, or I was fortunate that he was in the process of like creating questions. I think you've helped him with it, a couple other people. And by the time I got to the exam, it was, I'm not going to say easy, that is the wrong word, but there was a calmness and confidence of, I know this stuff 5 layers deep, and almost like an exposure therapy. Like if you're doing
Yep.
100 questions a day, it's the exam is less than twice that. So when you're cranking through, it just feels like one of the other 30 days that you had experienced.
Yeah. I would say, you mentioned I knew this by 5 layers. I would say that, but I knew which layer to pick for the question. Whereas I might have known
Yeah.
5 layers
Yes.
last time and I didn't know which layer to pick. And
Yes.
really,
That's a
really,
very, very good point.
really what I did during the test, the test is 180 questions. And so I gave the proctor my phone and everything I had. And um, what I did was I just broke it up into kind of 6 30 question exams. So after 30 questions, kind of raise my hand, go to the bathroom, take a deep breath, get a sip of water, come back. Raise my hand, take a deep breath, take a sip of water, after 30 questions. So I kind of broke it up into 6 30 question exams, and that really helped. And I let the proctor know ahead of time that was my plan,
Yep.
and they were okay with that. And the one stipulation they said if they could just hold my phone and my keys and my wallet, so there'd be no ability for me to and if I was okay getting wanded every time I went back to the test, and I said yeah, sure, no problem. So
That's a great idea.
yeah.
That is hands
So
down.
I read an article where like the human mind can only concentrate significantly for 45 minutes to an hour before, it becomes just kind of, you don't get the same return. So I kind of stuck with that strategy and it really paid off. I finished the exam with about 45 minutes to go. So I had
Wow.
So I had I had time to go back and double check my work and stuff. So I really wasn't concerned about time, and it really worked well. And that's all because of really how Paul and I and really Paul helped me game plan. And like you talked about, that day off was really key for me. It happened twofold: Paul's encouragement, and I've got a great group of friends I went to high school with in Tampa who really care about me, and we care about each other more than just hanging out and cranking beers on watching college football and stuff on Saturday. And so, they know how much time and effort I put in at the company, and really wanted me to get over this hump. And when I didn't, they took me. There's a steakhouse called Burns in Tampa, and they all took me there. And I was like, "What are we doing?" I failed the exam. They go, "No, no, we're celebrating getting our friend back, because you're going to figure out a way to pass this exam because you are the most stubborn SOB we know." But um, um, and but we're going to do this in a balanced way, and every weekend, you're going to hang out with one of us. And so, I would tell anybody, if you're working with Paul, taking that day off, make it significant and make it count. Don't just sit there and veg out and watch TV all day. Like, go hang out with friends, go do stuff with family, be outside, get exercise. If you're
Yes.
stuck in Boston like Jessica in the dead of winter, come to Florida and hang out at the beach. But figure out a way in a healthy manner. And I'm not against drinking or anything. Trust me, I like to have a couple pops, just like anybody. But really drinking alcohol or stuff isn't really going to do it. But do something that's healthy: yoga, running,
Yes.
exercise, being with your spouse, being with your friends, being social that day. I think is even gives you an even better mindset for the next day when you're about to study, because it's that much more relieving. Whereas if you're sitting vegging out, or you're not really acting in a healthy manner, you're just kind of
Yes.
compounding the effect.
Just snowballs.
Yeah.
You're on a hamster wheel and it snowballs. And I will say the one thing that I did do different, where I love working out. I love, that is a big thing to me. But I started doing, so I passed in March, the August before that, I started doing hot power yoga, and it was probably, I am obsessed with it now. I do it 3 or 4 days a week. I would do the 6 a.m. I'd get up at 4:30. I'd talk to you or Paul. I would do my hour of studying, go do that. Like, it just broke it up. And it was the only time when my brain would completely shut off, because I was not worrying or studying or anything, because you literally are just trying to survive and,
Yep.
and not
Yep.
pass out. So I think that piece, and then meditation, I always was like, yeah, whatever. Yeah, if you meditate, great. I could get myself to a place of calm like I've never done before, and I, still do it today. But it's the mental game, and the physical is a huge piece of this as well.
Yeah. And I would say getting in a routine that's healthy and achievable, rather than a routine that is unhealthy and deteriorating and unachievable, is key. So for me, my routine once I got with Paul is I would kind of I would meet with Paul for an hour. I go work out. I go to work. My bosses were generous and only made me work from like 8 to 4 instead of like 8 to 6 or 7. So I'd get home at 4. I would, take a nap, eat dinner, then study for like another hour, hour and a half during the week. And then usually I'd take kind of Friday night, Saturday day, and then to keep me from like going out with my friends, I kind of review some stuff Saturday night, lightly, get to bed early, get a good workout in Sunday morning, um, go to church, uh, and then go to the public library called Jan Platt, and just study from like I did in college, from like 11 to 5 on a Sunday, and just kind of and feel good. And then I'd get with Paul, do the same thing, have a good routine, and it'd be 15 hours, 15 to 16 hours a week, and I felt good. And then once we that last month, you got to 100 questions, I was like, wow, I'm good, I'm ready. um
And it's so true. But everybody, I mean, I've talked to some other people too. Everybody handles it a little bit differently. And like, I am terrible at night. After the end of the day, I cannot function. So it's like, for me, everything was morning time or
yep.
before I got home.
i'm
And I think
I'm
that's the key. There's no perfect formula, and you just got to figure out what works for you.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. That's why I had to get home and take a nap every day, because I needed my body to reset
Yep.
and get out of
Back up.
work mode and reset. And I would say my intense study was in the morning with Paul, and then at night it was just kind of reviewing and then getting ready for the next session with Paul. Um, and so I would just say, really having, I mean, it's easy to say, and I know this is textbook, but really waking up in the morning and telling yourself you're going to pass the exam, and then making sure you have the right balance. Balance, and what I mean by balance is, studying, but also exercise, family time, and sociability around is really important. So, like, if I got done studying at night, and let's say it was like a Thursday night at 8 o'clock, um, so this was in the start of thick of football, college football season. If there was like a good Thursday night NFL game, I would, go over to my buddy's house for 45 minutes, drink a Coors Light with him before I went to bed. And usually I wouldn't have Paul Friday morning, so I would get up, usually about an hour later, get it done, and then get into work. And then after Friday, that Friday starting there until Saturday night, that was I didn't think about it. So it's just really important, and I that day off and just being balanced and well rounded is just so important.
Awesome. Well, I cannot agree with you on like it. I agree with everything you're saying. I
Yep.
feel that we all have the struggles on the journey, and
Yep.
it's just trying to figure out what's going to work for you that's different than the first time if you are um,
Yep.
retaking the exam. What do you now know about yourself that you didn't know before passing it and like retaking it and then passing? What did you learn about yourself?
Yeah, so I've always known I've been kind of, I'm only 5'7", 5'8" on a good day. I've never been I've always had to be kind of the short guy, always kind of have some grit and fight my way up. Um, but I realized I could kind of really take a punch, and that felt good, and be able to kind of dust myself off and get up. And it's easy to do like in sports and when you're like younger, but to do it when I was 29 and to kind of really face some real adversity in my career, really going to lose my job, and to kind of be able to say, okay, like I need to make an adjustment, make that adjustment and execute was the biggest thing. And um, I think the ability to constantly learn, I think the ability to adapt um, was something I really learned about myself, and I think that's going to pay dividends. I hope going forward.
Oh, absolutely.
Hopefully, still be at AGW if we have this conversation, Jessica. 30 years from now, when your 9-year-olds are, running around and taking care of mom.
Hey, I'm not
So
going to be that old. Come on, come on.
yeah, yeah. So I think that's what I really learned, is that I could really adapt, dust myself off and keep going, and I think that's just given me a lot of confidence going forward. So
Well, I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your journey, because I know somebody will hear it and it will resonate of, oh my gosh, I was in that same boat. Oh, I feel that same thing.
yep.
And I hope that, whether it's one nugget that you take or two nuggets from listening to this, I promise you it is worth it. We have all been in the trenches, and there is a light at the end of the tunnel. And I promise you, you can do it. So thanks so much for joining today's episode.
All right, thank you, Jessica. Always a pleasure being with you, and always great to see you. So
You as well. Bye, Jim.